The Sherpa Screening Room is a presentation of the Sherpa's podcast picks, which can be heard on podcast apps everywhere, and the Sherpa-lution YouTube page. It's where you'll hear from creators from many fields from all over the world. Now, we take you to the Sherpa Chalet, where your host, Jim the Podcast Sherpa, awaits you. Kind of like how I'm waiting to get paid for this.
This week, on the Sherpa Screening Room, you'll get to know singer Kyndle Wylde. She's got a new album coming out and has also toured with Postmodern Jukebox, a band that performs retro covers of today's hit songs. We wish the Sherpa wasn't so retro. I've never seen anyone who owned a mobile phone with a rotary dial.
Coming to you from Sherpa Chalet in beautiful downtown Mount Podcastia, it's time for entertainment interviews in the Sherpa Screening Room. Grab an aisle seat and a bucket of popcorn, but don't crunch too loud or you'll miss the show. Now, here's your host, Jim, the Podcast Sherpa.
Hello there, rebels of the Sherpa-lution, and welcome to the Sherpa Screening Room. It is a presentation of podcast picks with Jim, the Podcast Sherpa, and that would be me by process of elimination. Hello there, coming to you from Sherpa-lu Studios here in the Sherpa Chalet, high atop Mount Podcastia. And you know what happens in these episodes. We get to talk to creators, the writers, the directors, the producers, singers. Yes, and we are talking to an amazing singer in this episode right now that you are listening to. So don't touch that dial. Is there a dial on the phone? No. Good, then you can't touch it anyway. Here's what happened. A while back on one of my social media feeds, I saw this video of a 1960s soul version of Pour Some Sugar on Me, and it was performed by a group called Postmodern Jukebox. And I am a big fan of Postmodern Jukebox. I really love the stuff that they do. I think they're brilliant. And I was just taken by their lead singer. And I did my YouTube deep dive. I'm sure you guys know what that is. You know, you see one video, then you got to see more, and you got to see more. This lady's name is Kyndle Wylde, and I went to her YouTube channel and checked out her other music, and it was just unbelievable. And I even found out through some research that her and her band were selected to perform I Can See Clearly Now for CBS This Morning. So I thought this is fascinating. I reached out to her and she wrote me right back, and we sat down, did the Zoom thing, had a lovely little conversation, which you were going to hear momentarily. She's got an album that she's working on right now. It's not released as of this recording, but it should be coming soon. So I really want you to keep an eye open for that. But what I'll also do is in your show notes, I'll provide you a couple of links for some of the other stuff that she's already done, and you'll love it. I think you'll really be just blown away by this singer. And I got to tell you something. With all the guests that I've had, Sherpa Bride has never really been interested in talking to them. I think there was maybe one or two people. That was it. But yeah, she wanted to meet Kyndle, and Kyndle was so nice, so gracious to her, and I really appreciate that. We just really had a great chat, and I think you should have a listen to it, because we're going to do it right about now. Hello, the Rebels. We are here in the Sherpa Screening Room. My guest today is an up-and-coming artist, and she's got some really cool stuff, and she's got this powerhouse voice that soon enough you will hear to believe. Her name is Kyndle Wylde. She's coming to us from her home state of Tennessee, and we're here to get to know her. Kyndle, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I got to tell you something. Now, when people see like your music videos that you have out, the ones that are on YouTube as well, on your YouTube channel, they notice the voice right away. It is just this boom of a voice. And that's actually, you grew up singing in the church, right?
I did, yes. My mother and my father, both of them were both singers. My grandpa, which I call him my pawpaw. Okay. He is my mother's dad. He was the pastor of the church. And both my parents were the worship leaders. You know, I was around it constantly. Mm-hmm. Not just music, but just people, just like so many people. We would tour churches all around like the Mid-South. And so I performed on a lot of stages at an early age. And my first inspiration, I told my dad, he was like, "You want to sing tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah, if you get me an ice cream cone from Sonic." And eventually he was like, "You need to do this for more reasons than just ice cream." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right." So, and he
had a bad start though.
No. I loved it. I thought it was a great deal.
Exactly how old were you when you started singing?
I started singing, I was in children's choir at the age of 4, probably. And then around 5 is when I started singing solos.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know like a little bit about singing because I was in the chorus when I was in high school.
Yeah.
So I know when you learn to sing, they say it's from your diaphragm, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, when you're singing like gospel style music, it sounds like it's coming from your toes because it's got so much more force behind it than even like a lot of regular singing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, soul music, gospel music, which I don't want to claim to be the spokesperson for that at all, but I definitely have some sort of grasp on it, and it was hugely inspired by that music. More so gospel in the beginning, but gospel and music like that, it's not even really about the technical ability of the voice. It's more, at least I felt it was always more about where it comes from in your spirit, I mean, it's called soul music. Gospel and soul are, they're like sisters in a way.
Absolutely.
So yeah, absolutely. But also gospel music, I have heard some of the most incredible vocalists, in that genre of music that are incredibly technical as well. So it's, I think I'm very grateful for that installation into me as a person and as a vocalist. I started with that, and then eventually I picked up some tricks and tips and things, and I added to my arsenal. But to come from a place that is from your spirit, I think that's important. That's really important to me.
Oh, definitely. So when you were growing up and you were singing in the choirs and the churches, what kind of music were you listening to? But was it strictly a lot of gospel music, or did you really have like a wide palette of stuff to choose from?
Oh, no, I was so sheltered as a child. I really had, when I first met my husband, my boyfriend, in it was 2011, I think. I knew nothing. He introduced me to the Beatles, basically, which is crazy because my grandmother was a huge Beatles fan. And I knew of the Beatles in this vague way. Same with Elvis. I knew Elvis. My great grandmother, she was a huge Elvis fan. And both of them, I just think it blows my mind that I didn't even hear a Beatles song or really a true Elvis song until I met my boyfriend, now husband. So at the time, I asked my mom one time, I was like, what kind of music do you like to listen to? And she was like, I don't really know. Bryan Adams, she loved Bryan Adams. My dad was 80s hair band all the way. But for the most part, it was contemporary Christian music. And it was 94.7 FM every morning, which is the gospel station where I grew up. And so there was so much music that I didn't even know about. That when Signed, Sealed, Delivered, Stevie Wonder, I never heard that until my 20s, which is weird to me. I don't know. It may not be so weird, but, I was a kid but my husband grew up, he was a 6-year-old, and Jailhouse Rock was his favorite song. He got a Bill Withers CD for Christmas, as a child. So we had very different upbringings, but yeah, mostly it was just Christian gospel music.
But you know what? As you're telling me this story, I'm mulling it in my head thinking when you're older, you get a really different appreciation for just getting turned on to this music. You feel kind of funny, hey, there was a band called the Beatles, but
yes.
But you could look past, it wasn't just these 4 cute boys who knew how to harmonize. You knew that, they knew how to write songs and the effect that they probably had, on that time, when they were big.
Yes. And yes, the artistry that they had specifically, Stevie Wonder, I just listened to, I think it may be on Apple Music. It's The Wonder of Stevie. It's this whole series, and it breaks down all of his albums and goes through his basically as a child prodigy. Right. There's just so much that in that world that is so easily taken for granted. Especially as a kid, like you said, it's just you don't realize the gravity of what these artists and these musicians and these bands really like what it means, what they meant for music. You know, you just hear their songs, but literally, Stevie Wonder has an album, Songs in the Key of Life. Like, these are the soundtracks of our lives, you know?
Exactly.
And you don't really get that until I think you reach a certain age, which I'm by no means, you know, like wise. I don't claim to be wise or that I know what I'm talking about at all. But I do know as a kid, had no idea what any of that was.
That really is, you know, in hearing you talk about this, it's such an interesting perspective, you know, because I think even some people who've been listening to it all their lives think that everybody knows what that is. But now it's like you get new lights that come on in your life and say, hey, you know, this is, and even it's something that you can incorporate in the music that you're doing if you felt it.
Yes. And now, God, I mean, I remember the first time that I truly was inspired by a musical performance, and it opened up this door for me. And it was when Kelly Clarkson was on American Idol, and she sang a Natural Woman.
Okay.
And I remember her talking about that performance later, and she was like, yes, that's when I really was like, I want to do this with my life. And listening to early recordings, I sound just like Kelly Clarkson. It's hilarious. But then I realized, I was like, oh, wait, who sings that song? Oh, that's Aretha Franklin. And then I was like, then I learned that Carole King wrote that song. Mm-hmm. So it's just, you know, that was such a specific funnel, you know, that I can look at as a direct, you know, reflection of sort of what inspired me and what, you know, the women in music.
Sure.
Yeah, and obviously I like, and some of my other favorite artists, you know, Ray Charles. I mean, I love Bill Withers. I love Marvin Gaye. I heard it through the grapevine. I mean, that's one of my favorite songs. Like, you know, anything classic and soul, it's just, you just can't go wrong with it.
Yeah. You know, I hate to give you like a spoiler here, but when you look into some of this earlier music, there's a real tapestry between like a lot of the artists and the songwriters and things that really be like bring a lot of them together when you won't even expect them to be linked through some reason, even if it's just like a cover of a song or something like that. Like you said,
right.
You know, like when you hear Kelly Clarkson and you say, oh, wait a minute, Aretha Franklin. And, you know, and then, you know, and Aretha Franklin, who was herself a singer in the church as well.
Yes, there you go. I know.
Back to Kyndle.
I know. No, I mean, yeah, it's very clear to me where my inspirations have come from. And it's funny, you know, looking back, you know, or when you're in the middle of it, you don't really know it's happening. But then you look at who you are today and you're like, yeah, wow, that really one thing led to another. And that's how you become who you are.
Yeah. You know, and I know some of the songs that you've done with both Postmodern Jukebox and the stuff that are on your YouTube channel are covers. Now, hearing this, that like this is relatively new to you, you know, in your lifetime, it really puts a different spin on it because you're not bound to that recording of it, the exact version that the singer did. You like as we said, you have that freedom to put the Kyndle Wylde touch on it, and that makes it really cool.
Yes, well, that was a really unique experience as well. Scott Bradley, who created Postmodern Jukebox, who also composes all of their music. So from the conception of it till now, which if you go to their YouTube channel, I mean, there's just a treasure trove of gems. But yeah, when I was approached by PMJ, for short, Postmodern Jukebox, they, you know, Scott, I came to the studio and we went back and forth, just like, what are your influences? What do you like? What did you start doing? You know, how did you come into this business, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, well, just like I told you right now, my dad, hugely influenced by 80s hair band, music in general. He loved Rat. That was one of his big bands that he loved. And Def Leppard, of course. But, you know, and then my mom, you know, her influences were church, gospel, soul to a degree. And so we took Pour Some Sugar on Me and did it in the style of Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin. And it's just the trippiest thing. If you haven't heard it, I
have.
Yes. Well, any listener out there, just that's a whole rabbit hole you can go down. Postmodern Jukebox, but yeah, that was such a unique. Just I don't even know. Like, and then to go on tour with them. I've been on tour with them twice now, and I'll be going on tour with them again in this summer, which I'm really excited about. But then to go out and perform these songs, it's just, they have such a loyal, strong fan base. You know, they really are, people really get into it. They come in all their costumes and they dress like they're in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. You know, it's the coolest thing. And I was just really honored to be a part of that whole history.
Did you reach out to them or did they reach out to you? How exactly did that come together?
They reached out to me. So Scott and I think some of his just co-workers, friends, they came to a gig of mine in Nashville. There's this place called Electric Jane, which I had a residency at for a year and a half, maybe. And yeah, they came. And then I think maybe I didn't even know he was there, first of all. But then after the fact, I put it all together. About a week after they saw me, I was reached out to by one of their team members. And they asked me, hey, would you like to come in and just shoot the shit with Scott and let's figure out what we can do. And then we came up with that.
It's funny because I was imagining in my brain like some guy dressed with a big handlebar mustache and a fedora knocking on your door and say there, are you Kyndle Wylde? I hear you're the bee's knees. Would you like to sing with Postmodern Jukebox?
You would think, but
I gotta find that guy.
That would be. I'm gonna have to tell Scott that because that's such an image and it's so on brand for them.
I was listening to a video. Well, I saw a video of this woman. It wasn't with Postmodern Jukebox. She did a 1920s version of Paul Simon's "You Can Call Me Al."
Yes.
And it was really interesting.
Yeah. I've seen the one they've done, 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is the same girl you're talking about, but there's a girl, I think her name is Ash Cambino. I really hope I got that right. But she plays banjo and she's done that song and she's done some other ones too. She's incredible. But yeah, no, they've got so many just cool, unique, and just brilliant talent that comes through that whole thing. It's really remarkable.
Yeah, when I interviewed Aubrey Logan a couple of years back, she's worked with Postmodern Jukebox as well, and I said, this man who is arranging these songs has got to be a genius. And she said, it's just unbelievable when you walk in there.
It really is. It really is. He's a brilliant man, to say the least. He's incredible at what he does.
You know, we have to talk about, in 2024, you competed on CBS This Morning.
Yes,
singing, I Can See Clearly Now.
Yep.
Could you tell me a little bit about that, how that happened?
Yes. God, that was the craziest experience. Me and my husband were just at our house, in July of last year. And one of our friends, he has a quote unquote real job. You know, that's what we say. he works in corporate America. He gets up at, 6, 7 a.m. And we're like, stretching at like 2 p.m. We got a text message from him that says, hey, CBS Mornings is hosting a contest. They're doing this contest where you have to create a new version of the song I Can See Clearly Now. Which I didn't even know if it was real. We couldn't really find anything about it. It wasn't this hugely promoted thing. Mm-hmm. So we're like, is this real? We didn't even know if it was real. It was just so random. But we pulled together our resources. Our friend David Broyles, who we are recording this current project that we're working on right now. We've been working with him for a while. We went over to his house, at his home studio. I called my band. I said, hey, can you come here next week? We got this thing. I don't have a recording of it because we have to make it up sort of on the spot. And just, an hour or two of your time, I'll feed you. And this is what this is. And everyone was like, cool, got it. They showed up and we did, about 5 or 6 takes. And my husband, he was actually the one who came up with the arrangement because they wanted a completely different interpretation of it. They didn't want the original. They wanted something new and sort of like to kickstart the morning.
Exactly.
So we put our heads together and, we came to this point a long time ago. And by a long time ago, I mean, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, where we were like, what music do we make? What do we want to do? We did pop music for a little while. We did, country folk for a while, but really our hearts, if it isn't already apparent, it is in soul music and roots, Americana, that style. And so I said, let's do something like that. Let's take I Can See Clearly Now and make it like that. So we did. And it was a long shot. I was like, this isn't going to happen. This is crazy. But lo and behold, we got a call. I remember they told me, they said, hey, can you be available at 8 a.m. on this day? We have some housekeeping thing that, so just we want to make sure that you're up to speed and up to date on everything with the contest. And I called and I answered the Zoom and it was Gayle King on my phone.
Oh, wow.
And she informed me. I put 2 and 2 together. I was like, okay, Gayle King's not calling everybody. I think I know what's happening right now. And so she told me, she said, I got some great news. You're the winner of our CBS Mornings mixtape music competition. And so we got to go to New York. They put us up in Times Square. I was just, it was just a dream. It all happened so quickly and it really was like a fever dream. But then we eventually went on the show and got 11 minutes on national television, which I was told that was a lot of time for television. So I was grateful for that. And yeah, and it's been crazy ever since.
Now, you said you want to kind of focus your direction with your music now, and you guys are working on some new stuff. Not out yet. Do you have a date yet, or
we do have a date? Oh. There are some things that we need to make sure we have in place before I can officially, pull the trigger and say this is when it's coming out. But I'm confident we will meet that deadline for things. And yeah, we've been working on this project for about 2.5 years. And just we haven't really even been tinkering with it for 2.5 years. It's just life happens and you meet new people and then people want to join in and say, hey, I want to give this some wings. What if we did this, and we've just gone with our gut on everything from the conception of it. So it's been a really interesting journey, but one that's definitely well worth the wait. And we're finally reaching the finish line. And I'm excited for people to hear it.
Is it going to be more R&B, soul type stuff?
Yes. Yeah. We spent a long time trying to figure out how we wanted to do soul, roots, Americana. And we put a lot of time and thought into that. We didn't want to just do it. And sort of give, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this that is the way I want it to come across. Like we wanted the lyrics to be still fresh and, have this commercial aspect of it, but still be pulled from the past, just like this good blend of the past and today and even the future, which this is all arbitrary until you hear it. I know I'm like just talking, but that's where our head has been with this whole project. And yeah, we're finally at a point where we're about to release the first song.
That's great when you can do that, especially because it really shows that you want to be true to yourself with your music. You're not just doing a certain type of music because it's popular, and then just kind of have no connection to it. But this is obviously something that's, like you said, it's deep down in your soul. You've got that connection already.
Yes. Yeah. And so much of life right now, certainly on the internet and just in general, I really feel like unless you're bringing value to the world, I don't want to be noise.
Right.
I don't want to just, be chatter in the void. And if I'm going to do something, I want it to not be haphazard. And, I want it to be something that I believe in and feels like it brings value, like this podcast. I mean, I'm excited to go back and listen to your catalog now that you give people like me, people who are creatives, a platform to share their work. And that is giving something to people. And certainly for people like me who, all we want is a platform to share our message and to share who we are. So, that's been my headspace with this over the past, I guess, 2.5 years.
On your YouTube page, you mentioned a couple of artists that if you like their kind of music, they're going to like your kind of music. Well, who are some of the names that you mentioned? Because I think I'd like to add a few names to those, if you don't mind.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm so curious to hear. So if I were to share a bill, that's how I kind of thought about it. Like if I was on a festival with these people, or if I was on a concert, or to open up for these people, I think it would be a good match. So we love Lake Street Dive. We love Alabama Shakes. We love Chris Stapleton. People tell me I sound like Joss Stone a lot. Who was the other people we mentioned? Oh, the Teskey Brothers, Alan Stone. These people that live in they live in this world that's like, Americana, R&B, soul, roots, rock, that whole conglomerate.
Yeah, I would say the three names I would probably add, and it was interestingly enough, you mentioned one of them, Kelly Clarkson. I would put that on there. I would also mention Gretchen Wilson.
Oh, wow.
And
I mean, she can sing her ass off, though, actually.
Well, hello.
Yeah.
And also Dusty Springfield, and I heard your cover of Son of a Preacher Man. So we know that you know that lane very well.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I always love hearing people's objective opinions about things. It's very useful. And always interesting. But people always say at least one thing that you're like, wow, I literally never would have thought of that. But when you say it, I'm like, yeah, that actually makes sense.
Okay. So while we are waiting for the album to come out, where can people find out more about you?
Yes. So my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook is just at Kyndle Wylde, and that's KYNDLEWYLDE. And my website right now, which is under development, but it is out there, it's KyndleWyldemusic.com.
Okay, there you have it. Folks, you definitely have to check this artist out. She's just really amazing. And like I said, my wife actually wanted to come in here and talk to you. She never does that. And I've done over 350 episodes.
Oh, wow.
So that's holding you in pretty high regard, Kyndle.
That's so sweet. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so be sure to listen to Kyndle Wylde because she's the bee's knees. And music will be coming out really shortly, and it's something that we'll definitely be looking forward to, and we will also let it know on our social pages as well. Kyndle, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Want to join the rebels of the Sherpa-lution? Follow us at Sherpa-lution on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky.
Thank you so much to Kyndle Wylde for coming on the show. When her album comes out, I will do my best to share it on my social media, Sherpa-lution, and that's on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky, to let you guys know that some great new music is out. And also a very special thanks to you for spending a little time here with me. Hey, if you're free on Saturdays, you can listen to Sherpa Selects. Those are the episodes that I've chosen to add to my YouTube channel. That's probably why they're on there. And those are from the first 7 seasons. And I know I've got some really good ones coming up. So if you definitely want to check those out, I hope that you enjoy that as well. So in the meantime, Lord Mr. Bruce, I guess you can head us on out of here. And I will see you next week. And until then, I say, Viva la Sherpa-lution.
Thanks for listening to the Sherpa Screening Room. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. I'm Mr. Bruce, and this has been a Sherpa-lu Studios production. Viva la Sherpa-lution!